Ugh, bad news. I hate talking about bad news. But this is the gaming industry and it seems full of it nowadays. And before we actually talk about this subject, which goes into subjects like trademark law, not copyright law, they're different, let me just say I am not a lawyer. I am not an expert on this subject. I just took like an afternoon reading up on this. I might get things wrong. And if I do, please leave it in the comment section. I do not believe myself infallible. I get things wrong all the time. And if it's important enough and all that such, I will pin it and make sure anyone else who sees the video can see it. With that said, let's move on. What's up guys, it's me Zero to my Kitsune, and today we are talking about ZeniMax, Bethesda. Please stop fucking with indie devs about your trademarks. What spurred this on? Well, this time, Pray for the Gods, an indie game looking to be the modern day Shadows of Colossus. God bless the indie game development scene. They give the people what they want when the AAA industry won't. Anyways, Bethesda, or more likely ZeniMax, the company that owns Bethesda, thinks that the title Pray for the Gods treads on their trademark of pray, the single word pray. And regardless of if this is true, the developers didn't want to waste the money they had obtained from crowdfunding the game, even though I personally think they could have won this. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I'm wrong. Either way, they changed the game's title to Pray for the Gods. Yeah, same thing, but they actually spelled the word pray differently, which to their credit was initially their idea. They decided against it for other reasons, and I think one of the reasons was simply the idea that people wouldn't be able to search the game as well, which I believe in. I've actually talked to a game developer about the fact that they had added punctuation marks into the title of their game, which made it harder to find it in simple Google searching. Either way, I respect the willingness to just kind of bend over for this, simply because they didn't want to waste the crowdfunding money on something that obviously wasn't part of the deal when they put up the crowdfunding campaign. But let's focus on ZeniMax again. Let's look at some of the more generic trademarks they have. Not all their trademarks altogether, but just some of the more generic ones that if they decided to abuse, which it kinda seems like they are, which ones would be the ones that they would use. Obviously they have Pray, which is the one we're talking about now, but they also have Oblivion, so don't talk about sending someone to Oblivion in your title. They also have Starfield, which, oh my god, that means Bethesda might be working on a actual sci-fi video game. I would mod the heck out of that. Then they have Brink, obviously, I guess at the brink of time or something like that, if they wanted to enforce that one. Tribunal, that's pretty generic. I could see someone having Tribunal in the title of games. And finally, and probably the most well-known, Scrolls. And Scrolls, people know that one because of the lawsuit over Mojang and his card game, which is sadly defunct now. But anyways, that case is unique because it was settled, and in the end, Mojang was allowed to use the title Scrolls as long as there was no competition with the Elder Scrolls series. But even in the end, Mojang admitted this was a complete waste of money, and that's the problem because smaller developers don't have the money to fight these, even though they could probably win or at least strike a deal. And thinking about this, if Scrolls hadn't been shut down, maybe their deal would have been in trouble because of the inevitable Elder Scrolls Legends card game. But it doesn't end there. There's still one last case, this time of Fortress Fallout, which was a small indie team of 3 people, and they did not have the money to spend on a form of legal defense, so they were forced to change their title to Fortress Fury. And to be fair to Bethesda or ZeniMax, this stuff seems to not be that uncommon with indie titles. They're not the only ones who are attacking indies over their names. You also have the example of Spooky House of Jump Scares becoming Spooky Jump Scare Mansion. This one I didn't even know about because of a development team known as Spooky House Studios who was working on a trademark on Spooky House. Wow, these trademarks get generic sometimes. But this all makes me sad because I do believe in trademark law. It protects both businesses and consumers from other companies that are trying to make a deceptively similar product but not of the same quality, and it helps consumers so they don't get tricked. But companies sometimes take this way too far, and quoting from the Electric Frontier Foundation, I swear this is probably my most researched video yet, they quote a judge saying, "The owner of a mark is not required to constantly monitor every nook and cranny of the entire nation and to fire both barrels of his shotgun instantly upon spotting a possible infringer." I recommend reading that article because although it doesn't talk about a gaming issue, it still does talk about the issue of trademark law, and it will be linked in the description below. It's a pretty cool article. Anyways, back to gaming. This really does suck for the indie devs because it feels like the big companies are just jumping at the gun on this. A lot of these game titles have context to them that would separate them from the original product, especially the Fallout Fortress one. The Fallout series always has the title at the very beginning followed by a subtitle, either the numbers or in the case of, was it Fallout Tactics or Fallout Brotherhood of Steel? Those are all subtitles. While Fallout Fortress, see, it wasn't even that, it was Fortress Fallout. Anyone who is looking for that title would Google the word Fortress with it. Maybe Pray for the Gods, I guess it kinda sounds like a DLC, but I'm pretty sure the individual consumer is smart enough not to make that mistake. But moving on, this does remind me of a previous controversy over trademarks, that time of CD Projekt Red and their trademark over Cyberpunk. And many people overreacted, although plenty of people defending them were very condescending about it. But the people who were overreacting, this is what they were worried about. It's not the self-defense, which is why CD Projekt Red is one of the things that they brought up. That's why they did the trademark. It wasn't just self-defense. People understand that. It's the idea that you can attack someone over perceived self-defense. Not actual self-defense, but when the company just thinks maybe we're being attacked, maybe someone's trying to take advantage of our title. And still, I believe CD Projekt Red. They're pretty clear of shitty business practices, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I like those guys. Or at least I'll like them until my brainchild Hack the Cyberpunk Ninja goes up in flames because of them. Anyways, this was an interesting thing to look up, and what I've mainly gained from this is the knowledge of Spooky Jumpscare Mansion, Fortress Fallout, and Pray for the Gods. They sounded like interesting titles when I looked them up. Maybe I'll try them out and maybe one of them will like them. Prey, on the other hand, can fuck off. Because, you know, bad press and all that such. Maybe Bethesda or ZeniMax can get me back on there, but as far as I'm concerned, this is going to be the first thing I think of when I think of Prey. Either way, my last little message to anyone who's watching this video, just watch what you title your games. Trademarks aren't bad, and I understand why some companies use them. But other companies can be pretty malicious when they're enforcing their trademarks. And remember, a lot of big companies didn't grow to that size by playing nice. They played smart. And in a lot of cases, enforcing these trademarks like these is the smart move. Either way, leave your opinions in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Maybe I'm wrong on some of this, maybe I'm wrong on all of this. Either way, the only way you can tell me is if you leave it in the comment section. I'll be sure to read it, and if it's good enough, I'll pin it. And with that, I will see you guys next time.